All right, as we do every week here on CB24 Breakfast, we'd like to break down stories from three levels of government with CTV political commentator Scott Reid. So he's live in studio with us. And this morning, we're going to talk about the Prime Minister taking a road trip down to Pennsylvania. This is for the SEIU Union Convention and also, and perhaps arguably more importantly, to promote trade.
Yeah, I think there's a whole pile of interesting things about this. First of all, when I worked for the Prime Minister and you would go to the States, there was always kind of use a sports analogy, a home-away psychology.
Okay.
Right? So something for home and something for away. So away, we know what away is. Away is all about, Donald Trump says if he gets reelected, a 10% tariff right across the board. Plus, you know, he's got his eye on tearing up free trade. Plus, of course, you know, he more or less wants to turn the world, you know, into a flaming cork. So we got to be worried about that. Talking to governors, talking to business people down there that can influence Trump, somebody that might possibly have his ear and could slow him down if he's elected president. And let's not forget, it looks like right now, based on very close polls, he has the whip hand in terms of who's going to win that presidential election. But then there's also the labor backdrop. And I think there's a couple of interesting home plays here. One, the Prime Minister is going to speak to a huge conference of labor leaders and public sector union folk there in Philly. I think partly that's, hey man, if I'm down in the polls here in Canada, I want to show at least among those public sector union folks that I'm their champion. Try to consolidate some of that NDP vote because they're getting too close for comfort, the NDP and Liberal numbers, if you're the Liberals. The second thing, of course, is to try to compete against Pierre Poilievre, who's making so many inroads with unions, but he goes for private sector unions. So how's the Prime Minister message about that? So look for all of that. But to me, I still think the fundamental question that hangs over Canada-U.S. relations and maybe the next Canadian election, general election, is what are we going to do about a problem called Trump?
Right. And what do you think, how public or how vocal or how, like, the choosing of his words when it comes to Trump, that's got to be so crucial as well.
He's been edging into the harbor of saying things that are more direct. So all of the smarty pants diplomat types say, do not say that Trump would be bad for the world. Do not say that Trump would be bad for Canada, even though that's indisputably correct, because you may have to deal with him. You don't want to alienate yourself, notwithstanding the fact that he already says he's, you know, stone cold against Trudeau.
Yeah.
But if you watch what Trudeau's had to say recently, he has acknowledged that he thinks that Trump could be harmful to Canada's interests. And so I think you'll see another beat on that. I would expect to hear that. But today's going to be really interesting. I think Trudeau's going to be direct, more direct than he has been about the threat that Trump poses because he's at a union event.
Right. Okay, we'll watch for that, Scott. In the meantime, something really interesting and curious happening provincially here. Consumers really could end up getting caught in the middle of this spat. It's between the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, famously known LCBO, and some distilleries who say the LCBO is trying to squeeze them for some dough, and now they're threatening maybe they're going to pull out of the LCBO.
Listen, I know you spend your weekend in a bottle, so this is going to be a story for you, my friend.
You're not far off.
But here's what I mean. Spirits Canada represents most of the liquor retailers and wholesalers, I should say, across the country. Say, look, LCBO, it has this minimum price that it charges. It says you must be, and if you're not giving us your absolute best preferred price, then we're going to ding you. So they're charging the back like $1 million, and so at some point this thing's going to come to a clash. My question is this, politically. When and if it gets to the point where either there's a real threat or bottles are getting off the shelf, where the manufacturers start to hold them back. Doug Ford's been bucket beer, he's been beer in corner stores, he's been beer in parks, he's been beer like wherever. Is he going to wade into this thing and overrule his own liquor control board and say, listen, I want to see the board ease up on this? I think it's just going to be, you know, the politics of booze are always interesting, so just watch this space.
Okay, well, watch that one closely and carefully indeed. I'm more of a beer guy than a spirit guy, but nevertheless.
Same here, same here.
Yeah, but I hear the complaints.
Too old for spirits.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Let's talk municipal politics, though, because Mayor Chow, you know, we haven't heard an official response yet to the denial of Toronto's application for decriminalization. Of course, it wasn't her application, it was Toronto Public Health. However, in the wake of BC, the federal government have said, no, Toronto, not happening.
So formal letter from the federal government saying, no dice, not going. Sorry, public health officer in Toronto, not going to be pursuing decrimmed as part of a broader strategy. The mayor, I think, has navigated this quite cleverly. She's got a big constituency of people who are in favor of harm reduction programs, who want to see this, but she knows that this issue has been framed and defined in the public realm as a crime problem. And so she has distanced herself somewhat from the request. She has also come out on Friday and said, you know what, this is all a quote-unquote diversion anyway, because it doesn't matter what we do unless we have hardcore on the street programs to actually deal with people who are suffering from addiction. And so she's managed to kind of circumvent the argument.
Yeah.
My question is, will she do more? Will she be asked to give official response? Will she write back? And will she pursue this issue? How does she balance this going forward? So far, I would say that she's managed to actually run this thing up the middle very skillfully from a political standpoint. Well, it's a tough issue.
It's a space to watch, and it is a tough issue indeed. You're right, because it's got all facets of the areas involved here. Listen, Scott Reid, always appreciate these weekly chats. We'll see you back here next Tuesday.
All right,
have a great day.
Take it easy.
Take care. Thank you.